So we're going to go over these incidents in the Joy of Others live sketch of PSM. So birth, Shajimar's claims to newborn Shantila birth. He tells his father, "I want to exchange a head for a head." When Shashimar visited his and holds the infant, exchange head for head. Other one came back. So in this place gave me this one referencing his other son who had actually left to go and become a South, but then return home. And so I want to exchange head for head. Other one came back, so now I want to make this son into a sadhu. And so 6 year old would not break his Ekadashi fast. Something that was 6 years old, invited to a dinner. There was no special fasting food that had been cooked, and so he was pressed to sit and eat with everything else. He's unable to bring himself to break his fast, so he began to cry and said, he says, let him do Ekadashi. And he promptly secured for proper food that was adequate for the occasion. The young Shalila asked Shashimash for God, age of 7, accompanies his parents during one of Shashimash's visits to Chansad, sees his Jodi, sees his wooden sandals, and says, in your Jodi you have God, give me that God to me. Or give him to me. And so the immediacy and the directness and the depth of his request stunned everyone that was present. And so this represented a spiritual longing in the child that it transcended all these different wants. He didn't ask for toy sweets. He didn't ask for these worldly desires. He asked for one thing, and that was God. Letter calls Shantila to renounce. So he was in sixth year of school. Cricket equipment was being planned for the village. Messenger arrived carrying a letter from SM, saying to immediately depart to Bojas and to give up his worldly life and take upon the sadhu life. And without any hesitation or grief, he walked home, received his parents' blessings, and said that never think of returning home. That is what his mother said to him. And so he departed that same day, left without a backward glance. And Chanil returns for his forgotten puja items as he cycles away from Chansad. With the messenger, he suddenly remembers that he forgot his daily puja item. So then he returns back to his mother, shocks his mother, surprises his mother. Why have you come back? Why have you returned? You forgot his puja item. Then he immediately goes up to the shelf and then to herself again. Quietly presses his hand, small packet of Mamaranjana that she had not been asked, but she knew. We have chapter 2 is all what they show when he suffers a fever alone and Nadia undeterred. So he left home, underwent a long journey through multiple villages to reach even Shashimanjam. During this journey, he fell ill. He went through many obstacles every single morning. Sellers were accompanying him on business, returned only in the evening, and they left the teenager all alone in the day with little food, no medical care, because they returned in the evening. So, but Shantila did not complain, did not care about his bodily needs. But what caused him severe discomfort was the delay in actually meeting SM. It was not the bodily needs, not the fact that his body comforts were not taken care of. It was the fact that it was the delay of meeting SM that caused him great discomfort. And so Srimara then Hio Shantilada initiates him as a posture. When he does finally meet him in Ahmedabad, he was still had a great fever, so he stroked his entire body, chanted Swaminarayan, and says, your fever will now subside. That same night, the fever broke entirely, initiated Shantilala's pasha. Novice renunciant gave him the name Shanti Bhagat. And that healing followed immediately by the initiation. So as soon as he was initiated, fever went away, discomfort went away, healing progressed. Midnight decision to give up English. Months later, wanted to give Shanti Bhagat full initiation. He held back until one specific condition was met. And that specific condition was to let go of his desire to study English because he wanted to study English. And he had said that instead of studying English, they study Sanskrit. And so I'll study as whatever as Swami says. That is what he said. That is the initiative that he took. Followed his commands without any second doubt. Overjoyed, hugged Shanti Bhagat on the spot when he heard this news that he was willing to follow his commands and learn and study English. Let go of his desire to study English, that he let go of that desire. Construction work at the Adladra Mandir, and young Narayan Sahib Swami was assigned to work with limestone in the scorching summer heat. And so he had burning red blisters erupted across his body, was brought to Sarshi Maharaj, just stroked his entire body, said, you'll get well soon. And so the blisters that happened from the lime work, they were healed merely by the Guru's touch. Only one faint red stains remain at the tip of his nose, and even when you look at the photographs from years ago, you can see that red stain at the tip of his nose. Midnight journey from the flooded roads to Sadak, which Hashimadaji suffered from an illness in Sadak Mur. So he casually mentioned that if Naren sort of thus came, and he's saying from the Bhakti Chaitamani only then will he actually be cured. Such was his divine connection to Narayan Swarup Das. And so he immediately left from Ladra when he heard this news. He ended up hanging outside a train car through rain and darkness through these physical austerities and hardships. And the connecting train was canceled due to the flood, so he took an alternate route and walked 13 kilometers through waist deep rushing streams and in intense rain. And finally, he met Shashi Maharaj when he heard that he was suffering from an illness, and only when he heard that he would only become better and cured if Narayan Swarup thus came. And so that shows the affection that Narayan Swarup thus had towards SM and his guru. Put my mind at peace. A letter declaring his trust. Now SM has firm declaration, firm conviction that Narayan Swarup thus is the future leader. He was barely even 25 years old. Says that my body cannot be depended upon now. It will last 2 or 4 years. And so this is my vision for Narayan Swarup Das is to become the president of BAPS and the organization. When this happens, this will put my mind at peace. And so Shashi Maharaj then silences doubt with I look towards his soul. So when others critiqued him that you're entrusting all of these responsibilities to this junior sadhu, you're entrusting the entire organization. How can we let that happen? What is this decision? He replied with a quiet confidence, quiet, firm confidence. And he says that Magan, I've done many things, but I don't regret any decisions. And you look towards his body, you look towards the fact that he is only 25 years old. He is only a young sadhu. I look at his soul and I see the spirituality that has been ingrained in him since even before birth. So Narsur thus then initially is reluctant and hesitant to accept the position of the president. He doesn't want to accept this position. He sacrificed and he enjoys so much of being a servant that no part of him actually wants the glory and glamour that comes with being a part and accepting the position. And so just as he once sent Hari Jivan Das Swami to coax Shantilal into accepting sadhu initiation, right? Because he convinced him to accept the initiation of being a sadhu. He then helped Nasser Das accept the presidency. And so he understood only because it was his guru's wish and he finally accepted the position of being president. It was not by any egotistic desire or any desire to gain any sort of power. And then we have the formal appointment when both of them do agree that he will become the president of BAPS. Then we have on 21 May 1950 in Amriwadi Puram, in the presence of Yogi Maharaj and senior sadhus, Shashi Maharaj declares that appointed my place as Pramukh president, and Shastri Narayana Das then placed both hands on the new president's head, blessed him, and then vision of the two sadhus merging into one. So during the years after he becomes president, he experiences this mystical appearance in Gondal Mandir. He hears that Shashi Maharaj arrived and ran to find him, but then he enters the sanctum and sees a marble image of Ghanshyam Maharaj sitting up. And so he asked the Murti where Shashi Maharaj was, and the Murti answered that he had gone downstairs. So the Murti itself was talking directly to Narayan Swarup Das. And so after searching for him, he didn't find him, went upstairs, he beheld Shashi Maharaj standing before the Murti of Ghanshyam Maharaj. And then the two merged into one, replaced by radiant light. And so this was the experience that Narayan Swarup Das. So we had when the Murti of Ghanshyam Maharaj and Shashi Maharaj merged into one. Yogi Maharaj has not left us. When Yogi Maharaj passed away in a room in hospitals, everyone was stunned. Everyone was stunned. PSM knew that this was not a grieving moment. This was a moment to give calm and composure and make everyone assured that the sadhu initiation and the presence of God on the earth will not cease. That it will continue. And so Sant Swami probably declares that Yogi Maharaj has not left us, even though he physically may have left his body. Right? He is present through PSM. So Sant Swami, then very extremely revered scholar and spiritual giant initiated by Shashi Maharaj, says that, hey, YM has not left us. He is present, ever present before us in PSM. He is our guru. And so with that, he gave everyone courage. And so then PSM addresses all the sadhus as servants not peers. And so several days after the cremation, Mood and Gonal still remained sober after Yogi had passed away. And so PSM says that Yogi has given us the responsibility to now serve satsang. So we all have to get together, and he created this message of unity and composure after the passing of Yogi Maharaj. We have Sadhu Bhakti Priyadasa, who testifies to his own transformation. So Sadhu Bhakti Priyadasa lived extremely closely with Shashi Maharaj, described as an initial doubt after Yogi Maharaj passing, saying that I was only convinced that only Yogi Maharaj could actually attract the youths. No other person in the entire universe could actually do this. So he had attached his mind to Brahma Maharaj, and as instructed, he remained privately uncertain. Within a very short time, PSM then distanced this delusion. He says that the play is over, right? The presence of God will remain on the earth. And so in a short time, even though he had doubts initially after the passing of Yogi Maharaj, he was immediately drawn and attached his mind to PSM as instructed. No faction, no fight, peaceful and unique secession. There were no fights for property and there's no quarrels, no groups to disturb any harmony. Entire sunset was initiated by Shashi those initiated by Yogi Maharaj seamlessly followed PSM. There were no claims to authority. There were no egotistical prowess. It was a calm, composed, and a uh, relaxed assertion that everything will be all right. Care for the sadhus. Sits on the bare floor in the dark for the sadhus. So one night in Garuda Swami and Narendra Prasad Swami they come to Shamisi's room in the dark, power failure, and lights return. Sadhus leaped in embarrassment that had given it his own asan in the dark and was sitting on the bare floor himself. So he had given his asan in the dark in the middle of the night to these two sadhus that came, and they left. They were embarrassed when the lights turned on, and they realized that Swami Shri had actually given up his own asan in the dark and was sitting on the bare floor himself. So he didn't say any single word. So this unwitnessed act of self-service, or of service to others, that spoke volumes to the disciples. Strips his own cloth to warm a shivering sadhu. Began to do dharmas before the marble murtis in the mandir. Removed his own shawl, spread down the cold stones, so she could not feel the chill. And then Swami said that, hey, you spread the shawl, but now you are unprotected. And so he took off his own upper cloth, and then he placed it around Sarvamangala Swami's shoulders. So he strips his own cloth to warm a shivering sadhu, even though that sadhu initially wanted to keep PSM warm and cared about him. PSM ultimately chose to care about him. We have these other incidents that show PSM caring for sadhus, saving food for the sadhus who missed dinner, covers his guru's body with his own cloth in the winter wind. At the Ganga includes every single sadhu, and again, all of this is not being asked, without being explicitly told, does this out of pure compassion and care for these sadhus. Guru Bhakti is all about identifying who his guru is, remaining always a servant of a servant towards his guru. So he tears up his own photograph from the disciples' Buddha. So PSM was serving as president under YM. And then he secretly places a photograph of PSM alongside the Murti Shashi in his daily puja. And so when PSM noticed the photograph, he immediately tore it up. And he threw it in disgust. And he says that when YM is present, no one else's photo can be kept. And so he did not have ego. He did not have any pride of the position that he had. He had complete adherence to his guru's commands, complete observance to under his guru. He leaves mid-festival on YM's word alone. So he had been asked by YM to assist in an important Murti Pratishtha ceremony. And so the night before the consecration, a letter from Gonu Mandir asked that PSM be sent back immediately for urgent work. So even though he was asked to go to this important event, the night before, a letter arrived from YM, and immediately, without questioning the importance of the errand, without weighing his own role in tomorrow's assembly, he immediately stood up, asked for YM's command. What is his command? And he left immediately once without resorting to any sort of logic or any sort of additional thought that he might have had regarding the incident and the event that he was supposed to be a part of and have an important role in tomorrow. We know that Gono Festival PSM holds firm against all opposition, 75th birthday celebration, 1967. Where should we celebrate it? Debated the venue. So PSM knew YM favored Gondal. It was his home soil. Ghanshyam Maharaj, beloved Ghanshyam Maharaj resided there, but there was an acute water crisis. How it didn't make any sense logically to logistically to get water. People will die of thirst. Tens of thousands will come, but they will die of thirst. Like there will be no water. The entire water system, it's hard to develop and bring together in Gondal. And so PSM said that no, this will happen. This is YM's wish, and so we will fit a pipeline. We'll do whatever it needs whatever needs to be done. So he held firm through every objection in order to make sure that his guru's wish was was held. Writing to YM, Niagara Falls cannot compare. So visited Niagara Falls during a tour. PSM wrote to the London Yuvak Mundal that no wonder in this world can equal the three wonders, Maratomi and YM. So after seeing them, nothing else remains to be seen. So he writes a letter to this Yuvak Mundal. And even standing for one of the most spectacular natural phenomena. And so he was standing before the Niagara Falls. And he writes this letter that no wonder in the world can equal the three wonders. So even though he's physically next to this physical wonder, the Niagara Falls, he's saying that to the three wonders, actual wonders of Maharaj Swami and Yogi Maharaj. That's all he cares about. The cataracts, cities, waterfalls, they can't compete with the wonder of the divine in human form. So when he receives a strand of shaved hair, so all these devotees they coveted relics of Swami, a strand of shaved hair, a discarded cloth, and a piece of cloth. He discouraged this. He throws away his shaved hair. But when he jokingly boasts of having Yogi Maharaj's hair, he says that is worth the millions of rupees. That is incredibly precious. And so he says, what need do I have of YM's hair? I have YM himself. So why does he need the hair? Because he eternally possesses and he eternally has YM. And thinks about him constantly. Then here is all about his service through doing the vicharans to villages. All of the different villages, waterless fast, ending at midnight in the morning of Ekadashi, waterless fast, no food or water, but a scheduled processions, home visits, blessing. Public assembly retired at midnight, extremely exhausted, but his face glowed with satisfaction because he was able to satisfy all the different devotees. Grinds millet and flour mill to please a devotee. Visiting a devotee, invited to pour a cup of millet into a new flour mill. If you grind the wheat, I'll never lack flour again. And so then he grasped the heavy stone and he grounded the millet himself. So to please the devotee, he would go to such an extent, despite his position as presidency of a religious organization. Drives through floodwater to keep his word to a devotee. So there was a massive thunderstorm, blocked the road, was genuinely worried, and he promised to attend the Parayan. And so he didn't accept the obstacle. He didn't say, okay, we're going to not attend. But he borrowed a van, drove through the flood himself, bypassed the impassable road. And he finally got to the event to make sure his promise was kept. 157 homes in a single day. So this is Badramris. 6 to 10 p.m., 100 more Badramris, typical day, 6 in the morning, ended past midnight, villages, correspondence to take instructions, companion. Touring was a rush, satisfy so many people. It's not only about elevating people as well, not just meeting them, but actually transforming their lives as well. Suffers a heart attack, but his first thought is of the devotees, right? 5 February, suffers a heart attack while bathing. Hidden the tightness in chest, did not tell anyone. But then he said when he got up and he suffers a heart attack and then he wakes up, he says, "Hold on into my place, I'll not be able to go. Devotees will be disappointed." So the first thought is always of the devotees. Finds the blind devotee in the crowd. Descended from the assembly hall, crowd is urged. Only one person remained seated and still. one person was blind, so he could hear the excitement around him, but he could not move until someone helped him. So the Astonishing Size found him, and then he made his way, placed his hand, and says, "Who is it?" And then he said, "It's me, PSM." So brief exchange shows that he finds these devotees who will want to have his darshan in the crowd. So his attention to detail and his attention and care for love for the devotees. We have Panchvartama, which is adherence to the five religious vows, refusing the president's request to bless his mother, even though, again, this is a high ordeal, essential ordeal. He remains firm in his vows despite the grand occasion that could have tempted anyone to go against their vows. PSM remains steady and firm in his values and vows, despite external circumstances, despite external worldly endeavors that he is pursuing. Accidental touch, blessing children, girl, it was accidentally introduced to him, so then he withdrew his hand, he really left the home. He did not do any blame, or did not assign any blame, and then he bathed, and then he fasted for the entire day. Did not take water, heart medication. Blamed only himself for not taking greater care. And he did not rebuke the devotee for not knowing the vow. And we have celibacy, God first in chapter 10, and we have essentially 2x more of these incidents. But the crux here is to get a mental model of the themes of each of the chapters, and then each of the incidents then relate to the chapter title. To really get a mental model of those down is is the goal here.